Why do I need a complex UI? For user experience. And then that too in less time. So we should go for WPF then. Then, if at all other reasons we look at, we need WPF for rich UI, less efforts as we discussed. We also need less or no designer-developer communication gap. Normally seen behavior is developer needs something, designer designs first and hands over the design to a developer. And then in general, developer needs some sort of controls which ultimately designer won't understand. And then there is always a gap between designer and a developer. Practically, I have faced a number of issues when it comes to designer, designing something and handing me over the design. It happens a lot whenever some HTML designing comes in picture. So the HTML controls designed by the designer are way different. What I need in maybe let's say ASP.NET is way different. And then we always try to have kind of blames on each other. So instead of we having this communication gap, can we have development in this manner? That is, whatever designer wants to design, developer understands it. Vice versa, developer does some sort of changes in the design, then that is something designer accepts easily. I mean to say, can we produce a UI as a designer and can we produce a UI as a developer? So we have a couple of approaches in designing the UI here. Designer can design it using something which is a markup here, and then developer can develop it using a plain coding technique like C#. We have easy deployment. So compared to the normal installer project, though installer project exists as it is, we also have another way of deployment which is called as click once deployment, which is ultimately is one of the very nice feature of recent .NET or recent Visual Studio. So we'll be using that feature. Now apart from that, there was synergy in WPF with respect to web in Silverlight perspective. So Silverlight as in framework, so we don't use it anymore because of the HTML5 launch. However, some part of WPF code we can very well try reusing it using something called as Android and iOS mobile applications. Or we can develop to some extent similar looking Windows form content as Android applications or iOS applications using Xamarin, which is another product which is recently there is a studio which Microsoft has taken over and which is Xamarin. So we can very well look at small demonstration of it towards the end of this course. And then we can very well develop something called as universal Windows applications using some bits and pieces of existing WPF code to some extent. However, coding can be a bit different in case of Xamarin, in case of Windows universal Windows apps, but then to some extent XAML understanding will remain same in case of both kind of tools and technologies. So what exactly WPF is then? So in general, as per documentation, WPF, which is based on top of Microsoft.NET, it's a productive unified approach to UI, media and documents to deliver unmatched user experience. So assured, what you get in WPF is user experience, a much better user experience. And that's what we are going to go and build here. We are going to go and build rich UI applications which are like data bound and which are easy to deploy. So let's proceed with next discussions.